the scent of roses, overwhelmingly sweet, and the ghostly warmth of his hand in hers. That was what kept her wandering mind grounded. Annalise smiled in her sleep, her lips curving slightly into a gentle smile. Elias would be there, just as he had promised in his letters. He would be strong and kind, with eyes the color of the summer sky, which he had described in his last letter, the very one that had prompted her to gather her wedding lace dress and a few precious items in an old leather suitcase. The ringing of church bells, the approving murmur of guests, the rustle of her own magnificent dress. Everything was so vivid. He leaned toward her, his breath smelling of pipe tobacco and the fresh, clean air of the Montana territory he called home. A cold that pierced to the bone, sharp as a needle, pierced the pink dream. It was not the imaginary air of Montana. It was something much more insidious. Annalise opened her eyelids heavily and reluctantly and saw a depressing gray world. The scent of roses and warm hands disappeared, replaced by the acrid smell of coal smoke, damp earth, and something else. Decay? She was lying on something hard and brutally cold. The cobblestones, covered with a thin, treacherous layer of debris and dirt, dug into her back through her thin lace wedding dress. Her head rested uncomfortably on a suitcase, its leather hard and cold. Above her, the skeleton of a railway shed stretched into a foggy, indifferent sky, the color of dirty dishes. Next to her, iron rails, glimmering faintly in the dim light, disappeared into the darkness, vanishing like lost hopes. On the adjacent track stood a huge, silent train, dark and gloomy, with windows like empty eyes. Panic, cold and swift, squeezed her chest. This was not the sunny station Elias had described in his letters, where he was waiting for her with a carriage. This was a nightmare. Her wedding dress, meant for a happy union, seemed like a cruel joke, its pristine whiteness already stained with dirt from the platform. "Elias?" she whispered, her voice sounding like a dry croak. The sound was swallowed up by the deathly silence of the empty platform. She slowly sat down, every muscle aching. A wave of dizziness washed over her. How had she gotten here? The last thing she remembered was the stifling heat in the train car, the rhythmic clatter of the wheels, the endless flash of landscapes passing by as she traveled from the bustling port city where the ship from Hamburg had docked. She was so tired that her head was buzzing with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Had she fallen asleep? Had she been taken away? The station was old, judging by its architecture, definitely 19th century, but it seemed forgotten, a relic, bypassed by time. Patches of snow clung to the edges of the platform and in the cracks between the stones. It was undoubtedly winter, or the harshest part of it. Her heart was pounding in her chest. Elias Thorne. He was a farmer, as he wrote in his letters, with a small but promising piece of land near a small town called Redemption. His letters, written in surprisingly neat handwriting, were full of descriptions of rolling landscapes, clear streams, and promises of a new life, a good life for a girl like her, who had fled the poverty and bleak prospects of her small German village. Once, he enclosed a daguerreotype with his letter, a serious man of about 35, with a square jaw and honest eyes, though the image was somewhat faded. He seemed lonely but kind. His proposal, though couched in carefully worded letters, seemed like a lifeline to her. He had to be here. In his last letter, received a few weeks ago before she set off on her long sea voyage, he wrote, "Come by the morning train on December 4th. I'll be waiting for you on the platform, Annalise. You won't miss me. I'll be looking for an angel in a wedding dress." Today was the day. She rummaged in the small handbag still hanging from her wrist. The ticket confirmed it. December 4th. But the sun, if it was there at all, was hidden behind a thick veil of fog and low-hanging clouds. It seemed more like eternal twilight. A scraping sound made her start. An old man, wrapped in several layers of tattered coats, was slowly sweeping the far end of the platform with a worn broom. He moved with the weary resignation of a man who had lived through too many winters. Summoning all her courage, Annalise stood up, her dress falling around her ankles like a fallen cloud. She picked up her suitcase, its weight familiar to her. "Excuse me, sir?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. The man stopped sweeping and turned, squinting at her with his tearful, pale eyes. He looked her up and down, from the splendor of her dress, inappropriate for the circumstances, to her face, full of hope and fear. Are you waiting for someone, miss?" he asked in a hoarse voice. "Yes, Mr. Elias Thorne. He was supposed to meet me here, from Redemption. Do you know that place? Is this the right stop for Redemption?" The old man's expression softened, and something like pity appeared in his eyes. He leaned his broom against the post. "Redemption, you say?" "Yes, that's the line that passes by here." "Well, what's left of it anyway?" "What's left of it?" Annalise repeated, feeling a lump of fear tighten in her stomach. "The town is almost empty now, miss. The mining boom ended a year or two ago. The people left. Only ghosts and cold winds remain in Redemption." He paused, then asked cautiously, "This Elias Thorne, when are you expecting him?" "Today. He wrote that he would be here." Her voice rose, bordering on hysteria. The carefully constructed dream began to crumble, exposing the terrifying reality. The old man came closer. "Elias Thorne," he muttered thoughtfully, rubbing his gray beard. "I don't recall anyone with that name coming here recently, but a lot of people pass through here." He looked at her dress again. "It looks like you've come a long way. For a wedding?" Annalise could only nod, tears welling up in her eyes. The roses and sunshine from her dream seemed as distant as another life. "I'll go look at the station-master's log," the old man said, perhaps sensing her unease. "Sometimes people leave messages, although it's been quiet lately, terribly quiet." He disappeared into a small, dirty office tucked under the eaves of the station. Annalise waited, shivering, though she couldn't tell if it was from the cold or from fear. The silence weighed heavily on her again, heavy and suffocating. She looked at her hands, clenched into fists. Her mother's ring, a simple gold band, was cold on her finger. After what seemed like an eternity, the old man returned with a grim expression on his face. He was holding a small folded piece of paper, yellowed at the edges. "There was a message, miss, left, several weeks ago, for Miss Annalise Schmidt, who arrived on the December train." A fragile and desperate hope gripped her. "Yes, that's me. What does it say?" He hesitated, averting his gaze from her. It's not from Mr. Thorne, miss. It's from the town sheriff, Redemption, or whoever was in charge." He handed her the piece of paper. Her fingers fumbled with it, catching on the lace of her sleeve. The handwriting was stern and formal. "Miss Annalise Schmidt, it is with deep regret that I inform you of the passing of Mr. Elias Thorne. He died of pneumonia 2 weeks ago, on November 18th. He spoke of your imminent arrival and expressed his regret that he would not be able to meet you. His small estate is now in the care of the county until his heirs appear. Please accept my condolences. Redemption has little to offer a newcomer. Marshall H. Albright." The paper slipped from Annalise's numb fingers and fell silently onto the frozen pavement. Pneumonia. 2 weeks ago. He died before her ship reached the shores of the New World. He died while she dreamed of their life together, choosing hair ribbons and memorizing English phrases. The irony was not that he didn't come, but that he couldn't. He was gone, and with him went all her hopes, her carefully planned future. She was left a bride without a groom, an immigrant with no destination, alone in a cold, indifferent country, dressed for a wedding that would never take place. A sob escaped her throat, sharp and intermittent. An old porter at the station looked at her with helpless sympathy. The smell of coal smoke seemed suffocating to her. She sank down onto her suitcase, and the magnificent lace dress, her mother's inheritance, was now only a cruel reminder of a dream that had died before it had a chance to be born. The cold of the platform penetrated her bones, and it was no longer just a physical sensation, but the very essence of her new reality. Redemption. The word was bitterly ironic. There was no redemption for her here, only the harsh, icy truth of her utter despair.